Dragon Riders, Kaze no Kaeru, by Night Dragon Zero. Night Slice's perspective. The train ride really wasn't as bad as I expected it to be. This train was an older steam-powered engine, as opposed to the new magnetic ones being developed. The trip was scheduled to take slightly less than 2 days. The cabin turned out to be like an individual room with a door and 2 long seats on either side. There was more than enough space for both of us, both our backpacks, and for me to let the Pokemon out. Although I was trying to avoid it, Hazuki managed to stir up a conversation, mostly about our backgrounds. She very painfully told me the story of how she was a rich girl living in a mansion and getting through life just perfectly. Her parents worked as mechanical engineers, which was where she picked up her skills from. Then one day, her parents came running back and told her she had to leave. They both looked frightened and had given her their farewells before sending her through a secret fire escape tunnel that led outside. She'd watched in horror as Team Rocket agents stormed the house and fired their guns. Hazuki had been alone since then, wandering around. That's just another life Team Rocket has ruined, I thought grimly. It made me feel even worse about lying to her about my history, but I couldn't afford to get her involved in my affairs. A few hours into the ride, Hazuki had fallen asleep with Ashura curled up on her lap. The Ivysaur seemed to be enjoying it more than her. Likewise, Riptide and Luminar curled up on opposite sides, probably because lightning and water don't mix. And that left me, staring out the window, watching the scenery rapidly pass by. The sudden jerking motion jarred me awake. "What was that?" I gasped. "I think the train stopped," Hazuki said, also having been awakened. Riptide and Luminar moaned, having been thrown into a tangle of limbs. Hazuki opened our cabin door and waved to the train conductor who was passing by. "Excuse me, but what happened here? Why'd the train stop?" "It seems the railway track ahead of us is damaged," the conductor replied. "It's very strange because all reports said it was clear. Please remain here and we'll give you further information once we're done investigating." Even before the man had finished speaking, I was already grabbing my backpack. "Where are you off to in such a hurry?" Hazuki asked, closing the door. "To check it out," I said, pulling open the window. I tossed the pack out and jumped down to the ground after it. The Pokemon followed my lead. I ended up facing a forested area. On the other side of the train was an open grassland that stretched on for miles. "Geez, don't you ever use the door?" Hazuki asked, pulling herself out the window with much difficulty. She slipped, and I instinctively caught her in my arms as she fell. "Wow, thanks," she gasped. "Don't mention it," I muttered, and promptly dropped her. "Ow, you big meanie! What was that for?" she yelled, rubbing her sore behind. I was already jogging towards the front of the train. By the time I got there, a group of staff and passengers had gathered around the area. I pushed my way through the crowd and gasped. The railway ahead was damaged all right. However, it looked as if someone had literally ripped it out of the ground and twisted it into a useless tangle of metal and wood. Or something, I reminded myself. "Seems rather suspicious," Hazuki commented, stepping up beside me. "What sort of Pokemon from around here could do that? There aren't any really strong and nasty ones here." As I turned towards the woods, I caught a flicker of movement. Whether it was human or not, I couldn't tell. I shoved my way through the ever-growing crowd and took off after the figure. The crowd was too distracted gawking at the damaged rail to notice me. "Hey, wait up!" Hazuki called. She was running after me, together with a Pokemon. Even not really knowing where I was going, I kept on running. Eventually, I ran out of stamina and stopped, bending over and panting. As Hazuki and the others caught up, I shook my head sadly. Perhaps I'd been chasing shadows all along? That was when Hazuki screamed, pointing behind me. I had no time to react before I was grabbed from behind. Both arms were locked in a vice grip around my chest, pinning my hands down as well. I knew I was still stronger than a normal human, but as much as I struggled, I was unable to break free. The assailant tightened his grip around my chest, making it even harder to breathe. That was when I noticed his hands. No, actually, they were claws. And his arms were muscular, like the guys in bodybuilding competitions, except they were covered by grayish-brown scales. The arms ended in clawed 5-fingered hands. I even felt his muscular chest rising and falling in accordance with his breathing. "So, you're just human now," the attacker spoke in a hissing voice. Pity, too. I was expecting more competition. I twisted my neck to look up and gasped. The figure I was staring in the eye was humanoid in appearance, but that was where the similarities ended. The best description my mind could come up with was a gray and brown gargoyle with a dragon-like face and long wings stretched from his back. On his forehead was a rather large and long horn. He was very tall, too. I was barely up to the middle of his chest, and that was because he was holding me on tiptoe. "Who are you?" I demanded. "I am Kyoi, legendary fighting dragon, and I'm here to challenge you to a battle, Night Slice, descendant of Kaze." Firestorm's perspective. I groaned, feeling the waves wash over me. "Storm, are you all right?" a female voice asked. "Please answer." "Mirage, help me move him," said another female. Someone was licking my face. I felt myself dragged over sand. "Ugh," I moaned. "Dracia, Mirage, what happened?" "Don't you remember?" Mirage asked. "You were shot down." "We were worried about you," Dracia said. I was staring up into their faces, trying to remember. "Yes," I said, closing my eyes. We'd flown to the Seafoam Islands. Dracia, Jade with Mirage and a Pokeball and myself, carrying Agwal and Serac. The Seafoam Islands were a massive islands with interlinked caverns and underwater tunnels. Our group had spent many hours searching and produced no results. Then a huge thunderstorm had brewed up. Everyone was scrambling to take shelter when a lightning bolt nearly struck us. It had shot past us and hit the side of the mountain. However, instead of blowing a hole in the rock, it had gone right through and disappeared. Jade suddenly snapped to the conclusion that the wall was a hologram and we'd been attacking it. Sure enough, Alucard revealed himself and begun firing, together with an Ampharos who was apparently absorbing the electric energy of the lightning. A battle began, but in the rain and strong winds, my maneuverability was seriously hampered. I had taken a direct thunder attack and went plummeting into the sea, together with Agwal and Serac. "Jade! Agwal! Where are they?" I asked, sitting up. Then I saw what I didn't want to see. That I was human. "Yeah!" I screamed, until Dracia whacked me over the head. "Not now, you bloody idiot!" she yelled. "The others are in trouble right now, so here!" She tossed me the backpack. "There's some extra clothes in there. You should put them on before I have to stare at you in the nude any longer." "Huh?" "Hey!" I grabbed the backpack and turned away from her, fumbling for the clothes. "Relax, it's not like I haven't seen Jade. I've been with him since he was a child, remember?" It was still raining, and the clothes were all drenched, but it was better than nothing. I took a good look at myself once I was done. The same white t-shirt, blue jeans, and sports shoes from my dream. I reached into the backpack and pulled out the black jacket and the fingerless gloves. I pulled my shoulder-length hair forward, noting it was orange with red streaks. The metal mask that I wore on my Charizard face was gone, however. Everything's the same, just like in my dream. "Where are Jade and Agwal?" I asked again. "Agwal and Serac went into the water with you," Dracia explained. "Then when Jade saw it, he released me and sent Dracia with me until he went to distract Alucard," Mirage continued. "I was about to go in after you when this huge white Pokemon suddenly popped out of the water with you as a human on his back." Dracia was speaking in a very excited tone. "He was like, I don't know, some kind of aquatic bird with some blue ridges lining his back and something like a blue mask over his eyes." "I'm sure it was the water's guardian, Lugia!" Mirage cut in, eager to tell that part. "We were sort of scared, but he let Dracia pull you to shore and disappeared without a word." "And Agwal?" I questioned. "We don't know," Dracia muttered, eyeing the floor. "I went beneath the water to search, but I couldn't find him anywhere. And Serac, too." "Agwal," I said softly. "Hey, guys!" I jumped at the sound of Agwal's voice. We turned to see the drenched young man clinging to his Vaporeon, both swimming to shore. "Agwal!" I cried happily, helping him to the dry land. He looked exhausted and soaked, but alive. Serac collapsed on the beach, badly tired out. "Agwal, when I couldn't find you, I—" Dracia staggered, her sniffing cutting off her sentence. "Don't worry, Dracia. I thought I was done for too, but Serac pulled me to the surface and kept me up there till I regained consciousness. Then we swam back together. It was no easy task, mind you." "Agwal, did you see him?" Mirage asked excitedly. "See whom?" Agwal asked. "Lugia, the legendary Pokemon! He was here just now, and he saved Storm's life!" the Ponyta neighed. "Isn't Lugia a story?" the silver-haired man replied. "Even if he was here, then I'm afraid I must have missed him. But where's Jade? Is he all right?" "Jade!" I realized. "Dracia, do you know where he went?" "Up there." The Dragonair pointed with her nose. "I'll take you, but I can only carry one passenger." "Go on," Agwal nodded. "I need to catch my breath for a while." "Good luck," Mirage whispered. Without hesitating, I hopped on, clinging on tightly to her head as she flew. Soon, we reached the battlefield. Alucard and the Ampharos were still up at the cave, exchanging shots with Jade, who had taken cover behind a bunch of rocks near the bottom of the small mountain. Dracia launched a Dragon Rage at our distracted opponents. Alagard jumped away and moved further into the cavern. However, the Ampharos slipped and rolled down the mountain, landing on the opposite side from where Jade was. "I'll take care of him," Dracia said, dropping me beside Jade. "You two better go after Alagard." "Be careful," I nodded as she flew off. "Storm?" Jade stared. "Is that really you?" "Shut up, Jade. Let's just take care of Alagard and we can discuss our racial differences later." "Yep, it's really you," he grinned, allowing me to climb onto his back. "Feels different when it's the other way around, doesn't it?" Feeling the winds, for one thing, was sure different now that I was human. Jade barged into the cave and charged at Alagard. I jumped off his back and rolled behind the cover of some rocks. The human-turned Charizard took Alagard before he could fire, engaging in a fierce wrestling match. "Damn it, I feel so useless," I cursed. That was when I remembered something I'd seen Jade doing before his transformation. But would it work the other way around? "Come on, Fire, please don't leave me," I begged, clenching my fist. As if in response, my hand glowed and burst into flames. The fire wasn't hurting me, of course, but it did feel a lot warmer than my normal one. Still, I was a Charizard when I'd felt that. "Yeah!" I yelled, firing off the burst of flame. Alagard heard me even with his back turned and jumped away. The fire attack hit Jade instead and knocked him into the wall. "Ow! I'm okay, don't worry," he assured. However, the force of the motion had jarred several overhanging stalactites loose, one of which hit Jade directly on the head. "Maybe not," Jade moaned before he hit the floor unconscious. I swore. "It's happened to you too, I see," Alagard laughed. "I'd recognize you in any form, Firestorm. Pity you're a human now, otherwise I'd expect some competition." "Maybe so, but..." I charged and drove a right hook into his stomach area, followed by a spin kick to the side of his head, knocking him over. "I'm a Charizard at heart, and I fight like one!" I cracked my knuckles, giving him a fiery stare. I was still stronger than a normal human, and I could utilize at least some of my normal abilities. "We'll see about that," Alagard snarled, getting up. It was then that a thunderous roar interrupted us. I turned to see Jade back on his feet, snarling at me. "Jade, you alright?" I asked. Jade growled out several words indecipherable to even me, but I made out the words intruder and territory. "This is not time to fool around, Jade. Alagard's..." I turned only to see Alagard disappearing through the cave entrance. Suddenly, Jade rammed me with his head, throwing me over. I landed on my back and was immediately stomped to the ground by my friend. "Jade?" I gasped. However, what I saw in his eyes was not the look of my one-time companion. It was instead the snarl of a wild, untamed beast. "Jade! Gah!" Jade held my arms down with the toes of his hind legs and used his tail to prevent me from getting up. "What are you doing? Jade!" "Intruder! My territory!" he snarled again. It was then I realized the knock on his head must have affected his memory somehow. He thought he was a wild Charizard, defending his designated territory from an intruder. That intruder was me. And another thing I knew was that wild Charizard are carnivorous. Desperately, I struggled to no avail. He pinned me down in a position where he was too great of an advantage. "Jade, it's me, Storm! I'm your friend! Try to remember!" I doubt he even heard me. All he saw was his struggling prey. My heart was pounding so fast, and yet I could hardly breathe. I felt his hot breathing against my neck. His warm saliva dripped down into large drops over my face. The jaws opened, revealing the deadly white fangs. He was poised to strike.